Alright, hello everybody, welcome to this TouchDesigner startup file tutorial. This is gonna be a quick one. I feel like I'm always saying this, but hopefully this time it will be true. Okay, so when we boot up TouchDesigner, whatever version you have, it's always the same network that appears to us. This those jelly beans being displaced on a square, on a cube, etc. This is all good and fun, but often you might want to use something that you'll have more use and will automate your workflow a bit more. So today that's exactly what we're doing. We will create a startup file which make more sense. So let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go up a level with you, delete it also. Let's even delete our project one. Okay, first thing I want to do is if we press F1 right now, don't do it. It's not bad or whatever. It's just that you're going to go in perform mode. And if you don't have any window assigned and you're in perform mode, it can be kind of annoying and difficult to jump back on the network. So let's correct this right away. So just by jumping in, let's bring in a text comp and just write no output assigned. Okay, and let's call this Beijing. Okay, let's go up and /, which means look inside of me, Beijing. Beautiful. So I'm just gonna change it to monitor 1 because I have 3 monitors right now. So if I press F1, you see that I just get this little window, and this is all good. This is for, like, let's say my startup file. If I was doing some, like, not necessarily some mapping or trying to project my screen, but just like maybe creating some visuals. That's kind of my my thinking right now. Okay, so let's create a folder which will make sense on how I use TouchDesigner every day. Obviously, you can follow along just to see what I'm doing here, but because I think there'll be a couple like neat tricks, but obviously you should tailor it to your needs. So let's, just for fun, let's call this one startup. And as I always do, let's customize our component. So let's add a page settings. Okay, it will appear here. Let's click on it, and we want to do a couple things. So I want to have a render resolution size. So let's use render and with a component XY. Default, just for the sake of this tutorial, let's put 1280 by 720. Like this, everyone can follow along. Let's do now res, which I use for my instancing. And then let's put a float, which will be aspect. If you have ever followed a couple of my tutorials, that is pretty, it's pretty much what I always use. So in the res, I didn't put anything. So, oh, you know what? Before even putting in our instancing resolution for our shader or whatever, and let me just customize my component again. I'm gonna move up my aspect ratio here, this way, okay? So let's do it in the same way we usually do it. So let's reference it. So render X, oh, whoops. So resolution X divided by resolution Y will always give me my aspect ratio. Beautiful. Now, I want to work in a fashion where my my instancing will match the resolution of my render, okay? So let's grab, let's say 10 for res X. Let's jump it up here also. So, and let's multiply it by my aspect. So it's going to be me.par.aspect A is going to be capitalized. And let's have something that is a classic 16 by 9 resolution. Okay, superb. This works fine with me. So we can even toggle read only this. Let's jump in. So let's do a quick setup which will make sense for us in the future. Bringing out a GLSL top. Let's rename everything because we want this to be super neat because we'll be reusing it all the time. Let's bring in our parameters and let's take this and let's reference it. And here, let's call it ures. And this time we'll just do, if you've been following the tutorials before, we'll do a bit the same thing that we did last time. So me.width, oops, a dot, not a comma, me.width, me.height. And this time we're not going to create a new vector for the aspect. We're just going to say me.aspect, which is, oops, which is also a method that exists for all those tops. Let's be sure that we're nearest pixel in the comment page, and 32-bit pixels, so our pixel can go further than 0 and 1. So in 8-bit, you're going to be clamped between 0 and 1. In 32-bit, you have basically, not really, infinity. Okay, let's open a text editor. Let's split the views just so we can see everything. Okay, so let's bring in a uniform. So a uniform is a way to bring in some variable that are outside the spec of the code, which is obviously what we have added in this vector page. So this time we're going to add a vec3, which is all our infos that we need. Res, and we're going to call it ures. Okay. What I want to do is simply declare a variable that I'll call uv. Oops, it's going to be a vec2, and it's going to be a vuv.st, which is the coordinate system given by TouchDesigner. To be sure wait, let's just add this as we go so we have something to watch. Okay, we have our UVs now here. Now just let's, as we always do, and let's view it as points. So right now our points are, all our points are between 0 and 1. We want to scale our x value to our aspect ratio. So let's do this, uv.x time equals u.res z, which was my aspect ratio, if you remember correctly. Okay, we see that this has been scaled properly. Beautiful. Let's declare another float, which is going to be the p scale, and it's going to be 1 divided by our res y. So if I'm going a bit fast here, you should maybe just jump in those other tutorials that I've done, because I really go in depth in all those explanation. Today that's not exactly the idea. So let's bring in our p scale here in the b value of our color, and we're exporting color, and we are done. So let's go back in image mode, and that's it. Okay, let's add a null. Let's call this null pose, which will make a lot more sense. Let's take a circle. Let's put a transform in case we need it. Bring in a geometry. Geocircle. Let's rename everything. Let's take a mat. Constant material. Let's call it constant mat. And I'm taking the time to show a couple tricks along the way. If you're on your network, sometimes to be a bit cleaner, you can also duck to. And now my material is attached to my geo, which can be super handy. Okay. Let's look at this a bit in a bigger way. Let's toggle instancing on. Let's take our null pause as default instant up, and let's use X and Y with the R and G, just because we're gonna stay in the XY plane. This is a bit big, but we have our P scale, which is in the B attribute. So let's just put it in the B attribute. This is looking good. I had prepared a transform sub just to make it a bit smaller, and see now how this all fits and touch perfectly. Why not? Let's say that's exactly what I want. So when you have like nodes like this that are a bit in different size, you can select everything and click in the network, and let's say reset node size, and now everything is cleaner. Let's bring in a render. So the render, we are going to be using the parameters that we had prepared, and we're going to bind them to our render. Superb. Let's, because we're doing this super clean, let's even rename our render to render main, attach a null, and call it BG for background. Finally, let's add a camera. Where are you, camera? Camera. And let's call this one camera main. So we're staying in 2D in this example. Let's go in orthographic. The ortho width is gonna be the aspect ratio, so we can reference it. This almost looks perfect, except our ortho origin needs to be bottom left. And look how neat this is, beautiful. Okay, and let's say that is my setup. Cool, so that is what I want to load in every time I boot TouchDesigner. Okay, so what to do? Let's save this project. Okay, let's save it in our derivative folder. So here you see my derivative folder. I have the palette, which is super useful for having a lot of tux that you had prepared. And let's create a new folder here, and let's call it startup, because we could potentially have multiple startup files, or have even a menu where we can choose from which startup file we wanna start in. This one, let's call it I don't know, circle instancing, just so we can remember what we were talking about, and let's save it. Okay, so all this was just to get prepared for doing the mandate of this tutorial. So let's go in preference. So startup file mode, let's go to custom file, and let's navigate to derivative, startup folder we just created, circle instancing, and select. Let's hit save. Let's make sure to hit save, and we can close this, and we can close this. So now if I boot TouchDesigner, you'll see right away that it finds a good file. And here we have it. Perfect. The file we had prepared, and like this, we don't need to see that code that was not useful for us in the template that was that derivative prepared for us, and we have our template that we have prepared. So hopefully you can find those workflow TouchDesigner tutorial useful. I hope you like it, and hopefully that'll be useful in your future project. If you like this tutorial, give a follow, give a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.